beyond here. Please drop me an emoji. Let me know that you can see me, you can hear me clearly. Yeah. Now, one of the things we spoke about, people who are unaware, right? First of all, unaware of their thoughts inside, first of all. Then the second one is how to demonstrate that which is within and how to wield the influence they have. Those who are unaware, yes, they give off this kind of thing. But those who are aware, other natures, they're warm, they're helpful, genial. They're like the Gulf Stream following their own course, flowing undaunted and undismayed in the ocean of colder waters. Okay, this person has been cold. However, I have a mission. I keep going. Hey, good morning, sir. Good morning. How are you doing today? I'm fine. All right. I trust you're having a good day. Talk to you later. They are undaunted and undismayed. I remember when I first got married, and sometimes my husband, I'm very like extroverted, happy-go-lucky. I wake up with a smile on my face. This is very interesting today. If you would give me a minute, let me just make sure that my Wi-Fi is on. I'll be with you in about 2 minutes. Thank you for your patience. Can you hear me now? Let me know if you can. I believe it should have been sorted, but let me be sure. Okay, good. August said good. This thing, why it's interesting, I remember many times, sometimes I'll be coming back from work, I'll be talking with people, maybe my family on the phone, and they'll be like, oh, so sorry, Nigerian network. I'll be like, it's not Nigerian network, it's actually me. It's actually me. I'm going through an area where the network isn't that good. So, in life, things happen. And your calmness to just push through changes in plan, to push through even embarrassing situations. That's what calmness is for. That's what calmness is for. And I just thank you for holding on and just being here, because the reason I'm not frazzled by this, if it let it cut again, or if it let it don't cut again, it doesn't change the content of my being. It doesn't change my wanting to be of service to you. It doesn't change you all wanting to learn. And you're not just going to let two incidents of the person dropping off for a few seconds, you're not going to let it stop your quest. I love it. The intention, it's the intentionality for me. I love it so much. Okay, let's do this again. Talking about these people who are unaware. They're being cold, they're being unreserved. They're being reserved, they're being unapproachable. Sometimes a lot of people aren't aware, or even when they're aware, they don't know what to do with it, so they claim it as an identity. But now look at that. There are other natures, warm, helpful, genial, like the Gulf Stream, following their own cause. Remember the example I gave you, talking about how that you even meet a situation you don't want. You're talking to one of these people who are reserved, unapproachable, and say, could I have a minute with you? No, man, don't talk to me. I'm not here for this and all. And you're like, okay, is there someone else I can talk to? Nah. And they go on, and you're able to just maintain, this is my purpose, this is my mission, and you go through it. You keep at it. You flow undaunted and undismayed in the ocean of colder waters. Remember the very first chapter, it said is the calm person is a person with bravery who looks in the face of failure, in the face of adversity, and say, we go again. That is the person who radiates and doesn't just absorb. Now that person, their presence brings warmth and life and the glow of sunshine, the joyous, stimulating breath of spring. He goes on and on to describe some of these other things. And this behooves you to almost sit down and do a calendar, to do a comparison. What are these attributes? The closest people in my life, which of these do they take? And which ones don't they take? How do I come across and make that time effort to ask somebody else and say, hey, what do you think about how I'm coming across like this? Do you see? Even children can't laugh around you. People that are happy, when they come to you, they keep a gloomy face because they're just like, she's about to be about it. We don't go through life as if each day were a new big funeral, as if we're always chief mourners. No. We're men who seem like the ocean. We're constantly bracing, stimulating, giving new draughts of tonic life and strength by their very presence. We're people who impart strength. He goes on and keeps talking about the different kinds of people in sincerity in heart. When you're insincere in heart, you cannot but give out these things. When you're insincere in heart, what happens is this uncanny ability for you to attract other people, other like-minded people. That insincerity is radiated by their presence. You know them, they have a wondrous interest in your welfare when they need you. Oh my word. They put on a property smile so suddenly when it serves their purpose that it seems the smile must be connected with some electric button. It's just like, but you were upset just now. Have you ever had somebody, wait, let me give you this example. Have you ever had somebody be with you? And then the very next thing, you turn around, the person turns around and they yell at the waiter. And then they turn right back to you and start smiling and laughing again. And you're just like, where did that come from? Like, did you have this in you since? Because it was so fast. Their voice has a simulated cordiality that long training may have made almost natural. And this is why when people tell you fake it till you make it, be really careful, because we're not in the business of giving out that which is not within. What is within is what should be giving out. It's a natural outflow. So even now, when you're thinking, okay, am I cold? Am I reserved? It's okay, because if that's what's inside, that's what you give out. Now, what you start to work on is, as a man thinketh. How does a man think? He pours over that which he wants, puts it before his eyes, and imbibes it as a new thinking, as in creating a new belief. And then you are not like this person whose mask will slip down sometimes. Because somebody says the eyes never lie. Their eyes never lie. Their cleverness cannot teach their eyes the look of sterling honesty. They may deceive some people, but they cannot deceive all. Now, there's a subtle power of revelation which makes us say, well, I cannot explain how it is, but I know that person is not honest. Taking you back again to boundaries, setting boundaries. You're not just setting boundaries because I want to change this person. I want to make this person behave like this. You just know there are certain things I cannot absorb. And you just know I will not be influenced in this vein. And you know that something is not true. The Bible says whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are honest, think on these things. So why do you want to stay around a deceptive person? Around someone who trades in deceit. I hear sometimes, people who do this, what do you call it? Wire fraud, as it's called, 419 and things like that. And somebody's like, oh yeah, they have families, they're really nice, so it's just this crime thing. Somebody who is already deceitful is incongruous with the nature of truth and cannot, therefore, master anything true, whether a marriage, whether family. There's corruption in how the mind thinks. Therefore, in every relationship, it will manifest itself. What kind of intuition have you received sometimes and you are just like, something is not right here? And what kind of attention are you going to pay it beyond here? What kind of attention are you going to say, okay, this thing is not right, therefore, I'm not going to be taken in by it? That is something I want you to really, really bear in mind, really, really think through and like, okay, these are some ways I'm seeing, these are some things I'm noticing, and I'm just not going to be, I will not buy into that. And I want to tell you now, in the very next paragraph, what this may be doing to you. If you've kind of allowed yourself to be bought in by this kind of influence, I want to show you what it could possibly be doing to you. Okay? So realize that you cannot escape for one moment from the radiation of your character, the constantly weakening or strengthening of others. If you like to look at life in black and white, you're like, I'm either giving light or I'm taking light. I'm either giving light or I'm taking light. You cannot evade the responsibility by saying it is an unconscious influence. This is making the case now for you to do something about your influence, for you to do something about your nature, about your demeanor. You cannot evade the responsibility. You cannot evade the responsibility. I remember one time a mentor came to me telling me about how, oh, it seems that you're doing this, be careful at work. And I was like, oh, this could be misconstrued. First of all, I do not trade in gossip. I don't care how I appear to people so long as I'm doing what is true to me and all these things. My sense of personal agency is so high that those things don't bother me. But the mentor said, well, what if I never told you? Because somebody else said something that made something seem a separate way. Meanwhile, I knew my intentions. The person didn't also mean to malign me, but this is how it comes across. And I decided, right, okay, if you put ego aside and really look into this, why does it matter? Why does it matter? This is why it matters. I cannot evade the responsibility. When people say they will not give me that promotion because of how they think I didn't present a matter in the boardroom meeting or something, but they don't know what informed my decision, I cannot evade the responsibility. I will bear the consequences, be it true or not. I go to visit my in-laws for the first time, and I just sit down and cross my leg. I refuse to say hi to anybody. I don't talk to anybody. I don't greet anybody. And then they're like, oh, this lady, she seems really cold. Are you sure this is who you want to marry? Before I start saying, your family doesn't like me, they hate me, what did I do to them? They're just mean, they don't want us to be happy. Before I say that, I think, what is my unconscious influence? What am I giving off? What am I giving off? What am I giving off? Because I cannot evade the responsibility. I cannot evade the perception of that which I'm giving off. Now, I can accept the responsibility and say, you know what, this is my conviction. My conviction is never to say good morning to anybody. You can live with it or you cannot live with it. Then I cannot evade the responsibility. And I take it with a big smile. And this is what we face sometimes when we choose our character. If someone says, except you are a part of this fraud, you cannot enter senior leadership in this company, you can then say, I'm fine. I can accept the responsibility of not ascending within this company because it doesn't align with my views. But in the case of just personal influence, what we are giving up, we cannot evade the responsibility by saying it is an unconscious influence. You can select the qualities that you will permit to be radiated. If that is not liberating, I don't know what is. So you can sit down now and say, hey, Ogo, I select the qualities that I will permit to be radiated. I can sit down now and say, hey, Ele, I've decided this is what I want to radiate. So this is what I'll permit. You can decide. You can decide, and you can then do what? If truly we can only reap what we sow, then it's time to reap it. You reap what? Calmness, sweetness, trust, generosity, truth, justice, loyalty, nobility. Nobility. If I know this leader, what he considers loyalty is that he should know about things before we get into the broader meeting, before the communication comes out, then loyalty in this case is to express. I can cultivate these things. I can make them vitally active in my character. And by these qualities, I will constantly affect the world. What do you want to cultivate? What do you want to cultivate? If you sit back now and think about it, okay, rather all these things you're saying, I'm beginning to see how I come across. I can no longer evade the responsibility. Because I can no longer evade the responsibility, I've decided this is what I want to give off. You see, you're coming from this place of agency, not because, well, they say I should always say hello in the morning. I guess I have to. No, you decide what you want to cultivate. And it is from that place you decide what actions to take because you already put it within you. Everybody I meet on a daily basis, I want them to have more life, more strength, more joy because I came across them. Now, what does that look like? Then you begin to cultivate those things that have that on the other side. I love it so much. I love it so much. There's a story he starts talking about here. He was talking about how discouragement often comes to honest souls trying to live the best they can in the thought that they're doing so little good in the world. I want you to know that even now you have an influence you're wielding. Sometimes the issue is not with the influence we're wielding. The issue is with us not knowing how powerful that influence is. This thing that Judith was talking about, how every time I enter any space, people are happier. I mean, people aspire and ascend to another level of excellence. That thing I'm talking about, that every time I'm calling people on the phone, sometimes I'm singing with their names, people feel more joy. So how can I pervade that? How can I spread that even more out there? Even more out there. And it started talking about how somebody inspired somebody to write a certain book. From William Godwin, he influenced Thomas Malthus. Remember Malthus' theory, if you ever did economics? He influenced Malthus. And then Malthus influenced Charles Darwin, and so on and so forth. And he said these three links of influence, they extended over 60 years. Who you are influencing today, you will be shocked. One day they'll come out and say, oh, my teacher, there was this lady I worked with, or there was this sister in church, this is what she did. And you'll be like, wow, that made such a difference to you. Imagine if we became even more intentional about this influence that we're wielding. Imagine that. So remember and realize now that we have duties to us, to others, and duties to ourselves. That's why we're in this. The first thing when I was seeing Majesty of Calmness, I wanted to know, how is this different from Stoicism? And many times Stoicism talks about what is going on within, but we don't as much talk about that which is going on without. And that's why I wanted to teach this, because if your calmness is only just about you, if your purpose is only just about you and how you're okay with yourself, we won't be fulfilling purpose, because somehow God has put something within every single person that the other person needs. I don't know how he did it, but that's how he did it. He has put something within everybody that the other person needs. So we have duties to others and to ourselves. We have duties to others and to ourselves. So in justice to ourselves, we should refuse to live in an atmosphere that keeps us from living our best. All those things I was talking, it's not optional for you to say, I know this situation is like this office is the toxicity, the fraud is just compromising my soul. And you say, I'll just stay here anyways. It's not optional. If the fault be in us, we should master it, which is this personal development, self-mastery you're doing. If it be the personal influence of others, we should remove it from that. We should remove ourselves from that influence. if we can possibly move without forsaking duties. With some cases, it might be your sibling. Okay, you say this person will always be a part of my life. Your child, this person will always be a part of my life. If not, still work on removing from that influence. Removing doesn't just mean always physical. It means setting the kind of boundaries that allows you to stay true to who you are inside. And he starts to talk about more things. If it's wrong to move, then we should take strong doses of moral quinine. We just, I don't agree with this. Hey, Dad, I don't agree with this. I don't think we have to lie about this. It is not what those around us do for us that counts, it's what they are to us. So treasure those people in your life. I know many of you know people who bring this light, who bring this strength, who bring this joy. That's who you should spend more time with. Don't spend more time with somebody else thinking that, oh, my excellence, all those things aren't as important. No, that is somebody who has been divinely positioned in your life to give you and bring the best out of you from yourself. That is who you want to be around. Should we not be at least as careful of ourselves? If your plant, you're taking it to where sunlight will shine on it. I remember this experiment we were doing in school then when I was younger. You put the plant here, and if the light is here, this plant will grow towards that light. How many of you have seen that experiment before? If a plant is here, this thing will grow towards that light. It will not grow straight up. Somebody wants to say hi to you all. Give me 2 minutes, please. All right. So if this plant now keeps moving in the direction of the influence, said how much more you? If the plant was moving this way, when you realize what's happening, guess what people would do? They would move the plant in the opposite direction so it can correct itself. If what you have been giving yourself to is toxicity, if it's on social media, listening to those gossip type of things, now you want to expose yourself more to the light that's opposite that. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are honest. Should we not be at least as careful of ourselves? Because that which we absorb is what we'll give out, isn't it? If that which we absorb is what we'll give out, then how on earth will we not focus on the thing that we absorb? Because the environment where we're in is the environment that will infuse within us. If you put something within water, water will find a way to enter that thing. Water will find a way, except the thing is impervious, which is that it has a skin that water cannot enter. If not, water will enter. In fact, I dare say if you leave it long enough, water will find its way in if you leave it in the environment of water. What actions are you going to take to put yourself in these places? You can't be speaking about the majesty of calmness, but you're leaving yourself in this atmosphere of turmoil, where every day is one conspiracy theory after another. Let the dead bury their dead. That's what Jesus said. You leave yourself in this environment where it's just war and rumors of wars. It's one fight after the other. That is what your soul is absorbing. That is what it'll produce. In fact, in an environment where there is no more war, what happens? You start to say, is everything okay? Is everything okay? In fact, there is the way this person is smiling at me now, maybe the matter is even worse. You know, a snake, when a snake is coming, start to have this kind of wisdom. When a snake is coming, you never know it's coming because that. Your brain starts to work towards the light of what it has. Your mind starts to work towards the light of what it has. Human beings are snakes, so therefore, this is how they're behaving. Your mind starts to work towards that place. But if you recognize every human being has a spark of divinity within them, if you start to recognize that people are good to me, I told you guys the last time, I really truly believe people love me. I'm so brainwashed. I even accept it fully. I believe people love me. I don't know. I believe as you see me like this, you're just thinking, oh my gosh, her eyes are so narrow. I guess narrow eyes are in fashion. Her lips are not big like Angelina Jolie's, but I love it so much because it's so unique, the way it's shaped. And that, I truly believe that. There's nothing that is supposed to be a seeming feature that has a disadvantage. I can spin it. I don't even have to can spin it. Like it's the way, it's a mechanism that is in progress in my brain. You see that? All right. As we're wrapping up today's class, how do we do this thing? Because you may be like, right, okay, things have started coming to me, things have started occurring to me. How do we do this thing? And I'll tell you why. There's this thing, I'm a student of leadership. I'm currently in my 3rd year. Somebody say, in Jesus' name, you make it. In my 3rd year of PhD school, studying leadership. And my PhD thesis is focused on authentic leadership. People talk about how they don't like fake friends, fake this. You want people to be true to themselves and no. So what is it that makes an authentic leader? Because some people think that, okay, to be an authentic leader means I just say my mind as it is. I do what I want, act how I want, and everything. After all, isn't that authenticity? But it said something. It said that authenticity is not only how you show up, it's also what you absorb in. There's this thing called an internalized moral perspective where you say, what is true, what is just, and you internalize it so that it becomes part of the fabric of your nature. There's this thing called balance processing, which is that I take feedback. I don't just have my internalized moral perspective and like, this is what I think, this is my values, my core beliefs. You either get with it or you don't get with it. That's your business. No, you say, how do you receive this thing that I'm doing? If I'm working with you and I say family is my core value, and every time there's a project, there's a deadline, I'm telling you, my daughter, my son, my husband, you start to think like, does she care about the work? Because this is between the hours of 8 and 4 when she's supposed to be working. But I think as an authentic leader that I'm expressing my values to you. But right now, that is not what matters the most. So balance processing is being able to take how you are perceived and then refine your own actions and behaviors in that vein. Do you see that? When you are able to do that, then you're truly an authentic leader. You are truly an authentic leader. Another aspect of authentic leadership is self-awareness, which is a facet of emotional intelligence. How am I coming across? If I had this whole conversation, I never smiled, I never laughed. Next time you come here, even you two, you'll be like this. Because it's like everything is so deep, everything is so serious. You won't be getting that I can be myself in this environment. This is a happy environment. So you can't say, well, smiles are underrated. No, this is how people see us. In this world, we have determined that when you spread your face like this, it means you are happy. That's emotional intelligence. And you knowing it allows you to operate in this world because the Bible says that man looks on the outward. So don't tell me as you look inwards. No, I'm not God. I can't see behind your skin. I can perceive, but if your face is still frowning, guess what it tells me? It tells me you're not happy. And this is not a happy environment. You see that? All right. Let's share this final one. And I'll be taking from everybody what is one major aha. And I know you're taking notes, right? These notes you're taking are not necessarily what is verbatim here. These notes you're taking is what action am I going to take to be a truly authentic leader, the person who is an influencer, wielding influence, and who is absorbing the right influence for me, because the right influence is not the same for everybody, right? Okay. To make our influence felt, we must live our faith. We must practice what we believe. What do you really believe? Can I see it in your action? What do you really believe? And can I see it in your action? I know one of the things that torment people a lot is when they see people of faith or people of faith in authority, maybe involved in some scandal or the other, or took advantage of somebody else. The incongruence is so much that people are basically, the reaction is so visceral. Now, if you say somebody else did it, for some reason, we're able to either justify or accept it easier. But it is, how are you supposed to be a father and how do you become the predator? that incongruence is so stark that it is just hard to accept. To make our influence felt, you already have this influence. Some people might be getting it from you at a level, some others might not be. To make your influence felt, we must live our faith. We must practice what we believe. Practicing what you believe. Practice what you believe. Practice what you believe. A magnet does not attract iron as iron. This one is deep. This one is deep. It must first convert the iron into another magnet. It's almost like it calls into that within something else that it has within itself so that it can attract. Because every metal on the road is not attracting to every other thing. So for a magnet, and you'll see sometimes, a magnet, when you want to attach something to a magnet, is either you put the magnet on the thing or you put the thing on the magnet. Either way, the two of them must come together. They must come together. It doesn't matter so long as they're in the vicinity. In fact, sometimes it's so powerful that they meet in the middle. The pull is so high that this one comes and meets. You stick a magnet on something that is weighty enough, the magnet just stays on the thing. The magnet does not stay on this side and pulls it. It must first convert the iron into another magnet before it can attract it. It is useless for a parent to try to teach gentleness to her children when she herself is cross and irritable. That's why we say, do as I say, not as I do. Not we. Some people say it. Do as I say, not as I do. Because if we really do as you do, is that what you want if you're cross and irritable? But we're those people who will be able to say, do as I do. In fact, the truth is, with children, with people you are influencing, you don't even have to say, do as I do. As you are doing. That's how the people who have influence, who you have influence over, that's how they do. It's just, they start to wear the kind of clothes you wear. They start to sound the way you sound. They start to do their hair the way you do. It's a natural consequence of influence. It's a natural consequence. The child who is told to be truthful and who hears a parent lie cleverly to escape some little social unpleasantness is not going to cling very zealously to truth. This has become the age where I've seen so many people kind of rebel against their much older parents. And many times the parents thought they were doing the good thing for them. Maybe you're trying to get your child into school, so you lie about their age. This is what they imbibe. You cannot give that which is unaligned. Like you say, I'm trying to get you into the school to give you good education, but you lied about it. What you're bringing out from the child is what you don't want. The parents' words say, don't lie. But the influence of the parents' life say, do lie. How many times have you heard politicians say, I didn't tell people to do that, but by your behavior, you influenced the mob to do that thing? No man can ever isolate himself to evade this constant power of influence, as no single corpuscle can rebel and escape from the general course of the blood. So this kind of is like a cell, right? You cannot evade this constant power of influence. If you like, isolate yourself. You can't. Why? Because even blood, a cell of blood cannot say, I'm not doing it again. You blood be going, I will just remove myself. No, the white blood cell is there, the red blood cell is there. All of them together, the plasma is there. All of them together make that flow of blood. You cannot isolate yourself and be like, okay, so far now, nobody else is here. I've done a number of courses about thinking, about the mind, and you think you are thinking your own thoughts. No, you're thinking of the thoughts of everybody who's been involved in your life up till now. You're imbibing the thoughts of people who've influenced you from nursery school, from university. You're imbibing the thoughts of, I remember when I first started thinking I was smart. What happened? It was when people started realizing I loved reading. And every time I would be reading a book in my own enjoyment, The same way children of nowadays will be watching YouTube. That's how I used to read novels. It was plain entertainment. But what was I getting from adults who came near me? Oh, keep reading, eh? You are doing so well. Look at the big book you are reading. What was my message? What was the underlying thing? Read bigger books. Read bigger books. Look, they didn't realize how distracting those books were, such that I will have an exam. And I will say, till I finish this novel, I'm not studying for the exam. Sometimes I will read the novel right up till the morning of the exam. It was the level of addiction that children of nowadays can have with social media. What was the message I got from reading? The message was, you are doing well. Keep reading. I internalized that thing so much, it would have derailed me. Is it a good thing? Yes. Well, too much of it, I didn't get that influence, like where somebody said, you're reading too much, or you're reading the wrong thing or the right thing at the wrong time. So now what do I find myself doing? Sometimes I'm almost derailed by a novel. But till you make the unconscious conscious, you are influenced by it and you call it fake. Now that I've made the unconscious conscious, guess what I'm doing? I'm like, brother, there you're doing this thing again. You're doing this thing. Can you put that book down and focus on your novel? I mean, focus on your actual work. Can you put it down? And I will say yes. So, literally, sometimes we have this conversation. And I'd like to know from you all, what are some of those things you see yourself doing unconsciously? You didn't realize it was an influence till now you're taking a second closer look and you're seeing it. Said no man can isolate himself. You cannot isolate yourself enough to be like, nobody talks to me anymore. If you say nobody talks to you anymore, what you have just done is you have frozen your conditioning. You are saying, I don't want any new thing in, but you're keeping all the past conditioning, the ones that serve you, the ones that don't. Look at that. Then it goes on to say, because you might be here saying, thank God I'm not an influencer. I don't have an Instagram page. No individual is so insignificant as to be without influence. No individual. You are not so insignificant that now all of a sudden you are without influence. It's not possible. You always have influence. You are always pervading influence. You are influence your children, who then go to school, influence their friends, and the friends go back home, influence their parents, and the parents go to work, that their businesses, they have influence their customers, who then go. This world, we're all in the business of changing this world. We just don't know it yet. We just don't fully realize the import. We don't. I attended a church the other day, and I received a text message later. I was looking at it. This pastor I don't know took the time, read my name, my family's name, and made a video. The church has thousands of people. I don't even know how they did it. I don't. That must be somebody's full work. And he said, hello, brother there, and your children, this. Thank you for stopping by. So I was just like, what level of intentionality is this? Guess what that guy has done? He has not only influenced my happiness that day, just from hearing from them, he has elevated my excellence in how I deal with my own customers, my own clients, my own employees, my own superiors. He has impacted that. So now when I'm sending a Christmas card, I don't say, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, every employee. No, there is some thought that goes into it. I mentioned something they've done this year. So even if my team is 40 plus, I have something significant to say about every single person. It's the intentionality. He has influenced me. Now, when they go home for the holidays, they pay that extra attention to their own people in their sphere. And they influence them. You see how we're not insignificant? Do you see that the reverse is the case? Somebody upset somebody, you caught somebody in traffic, and you think you made it there on time. And that person caught somebody else up, or gets so upset they get home and they're yelling at their spouse, who then goes into work and makes a mistake on the surgery table. None of us are so insignificant as to be without influence. This is why when we're talking about the majesty of calm, don't think it is a persona you put on and off. The import of that demeanor, of that internal and external congruence, it is so important for our world today. I want you to embody it. I want you to embody it. The changes in our varying moods are all recorded in the delicate barometers of the lives of others. It's delicate. How we speak to each other, how we talk to each other. Somebody say, don't listen to how I say it. Listen to what I say. No, delicate. See everybody's receptor as delicate. See it as that. If we did that, even though our moods are varying, we will recognize this and we won't just go in and hit it. No. We should ever let our influence filter through human love and sympathy. Human love and sympathy. We should not merely be an influence, we should be an inspiration. Because some people are like, yeah, I'm an influencer, but the thing that you're influencing, inspiring in people could be hate. No. Your influence should be positive. Some people say, by the time I deal with you, you will never forget me in your life. What influence is that? It is the influence of the negative. No, we're in the positive influencing space. Inspiration. Inspiration. Inspiration is that thing that causes somebody else to do better, to be purer, to aspire higher. Why wouldn't we want that? Because if they do, what happens to the other person? The people that they come in contact with, it will ripple into their lives. Every single person is that butterfly that starts a tornado at the end of the world. They say that the flap of a butterfly wings can keep expanding wind till on the other side of the world, you experience a devastating earthquake or tornado. One butterfly wing. If I even meet, if I say, now wow, science, you can deduce so. But it is true. It is true. By our very presence, what should we be? A tower of strength to the hungering human souls around us. A tower of strength to the hungering human souls around us. The power of personal influence. The power of personal influence. You see, it said the power because power is something that acts upon something. By this power, we act upon other people's being. We act upon other people's appearing. We take personal responsibility for how we are perceived. Not how we are perceived in the mind of the person, but that thing which we are giving out. If our loyalty, they misconstrue it to be something else, that's a different thing. But by all means, a constant experience of our lives will be that which we determine to give off. It won't be the outlier who is like, I don't just like you. No, no, no. In fact, I remember one time somebody said something and said, that person, I don't like her. There's the way she looks. If you see how everybody in the place said, oh no, who are you talking about? No, 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 she's not that kind of person. No, it wasn't look, it was a behavior. Every single person stood up and said, no, that's not that person. It was so overwhelming. You could see that this was an outlier. Could they have seen her? Maybe she was on the phone or she just got bad news or something. I don't know what it was. But to the person, maybe 6 other people gave something completely different. Let it be that if people are experiencing something different, they're outliers, not the real. Don't forget, no human influence is insignificant. No human. If you know this, when you are producing, when you're creating courses, music, work, you know that you are giving significant influence in this world. And you never take yourself lightly. You never take yourself for granted. You master being the authentic leader that you are. You master showing up as one, and you master growing as one. Don't forget boundaries. It's not so much as that which you just radiate is that which you absorb as well. And I want you this whole Christmas to be intentional about those who you spend time with. In fact, this Christmas, you can decide that these are my power people. When I say power, it's not just movers and shakers. These are people who move and shake the good things within me. And I do want to spend time with them. And you set up a brunch. As I'm telling myself now, as I'm telling you guys, I'm telling myself now, because I see people like Ehi, if God would grace me with her presence, I would love it. Who will be here for brunching at some point this Christmas? Because these are the people who speak truth and power to my soul. And that's what we'll do. All right. This marks the end of our chapter 3. And I do want to hear from you guys. What is something that stood out for you? What is one lesson today when you look at it, you're like, this part kind of struck because of this or that? Go ahead and unmute and speak.
I mean, this chapter is so full of so deep and so rich. And that first line that says that it's the part to which we pay the least attention, but it's the most important, I think that really struck me. So I'm really committing to spending more time focusing on that, paying attention to what I'm radiating, being more intentional about it. And also another part that really struck me as well was you wouldn't leave your plant in an environment that is not healthy. You wouldn't leave even your pets, in an environment that's not healthy. So why would you do that to yourself? So be mindful of what I am absorbing and what I'm radiating at all times. So this is like the perfect time for this assessment because it's the end of the year. So it's a good time to look back at the year and really sort of take a good look at what I've been radiating, look at the feedback I've received, ask for more feedback as well. I'm going to be asking people around me for some more feedback as well. And I'm going to be much more intentional about what I radiate. So thank you so much for this.
Yeah. I love it, Ogo. And it's not so much as, oh, are we radiating good or bad? It's also, are we radiating at the frequency with which we see ourselves? So you might be radiating all these good things at the level of maybe at work, at the first level, individual contributor. The day you decide to show up as leader or to show up as C-suite executive, you're not just being nice to the person in the elevator. You're getting the whole team together for a team building event. Because you see, what are we radiating? It has to be in line with the self-image we have. In line with the self-image we have. So don't just think, oh, it's good and bad. No, it's levels. And is this the image of myself I see in 2025? How am I showing up as that? All right, Chigozie, you are muted. Did you want to speak now? Okay.
No, sorry, it was a mistake.
No worries. Okay, so who's up next? Elizabeth. Speak to us, Elizabeth, Ehi, Jess, Chrissy, Judith. Just unmute and speak. I'd like to take 3 more.
Browdy, thank you so much. I just want to show my appreciation and gratitude. I randomly... Okay, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. I was just saying thank you so much. I randomly stumbled on this link and I'm so glad I joined. And so one of the things that I don't want to say struggle with, but one of the things that I sometimes struggle with is absorbing this information, and then when it's time to implement, or maybe to help other people implement, but not quite myself, and I'm not sure why. There's some sort of dissonance. But what I'm taking out of this class is understanding that I have a level of influence, and to whom much is given, much is required, and I cannot keep hiding and saying, oh, I don't want to come off as too bright, I don't want to come off as doing too much, I don't want to come off as XYZ, that wanting to manage perception, wanting to manage other people's perception of us. So what I'm taking out of this is I really need to be intentional with aligning that self-image to how I show up on a day-to-day. And this is not necessarily showing up in a suit and a tie. It's like you're saying, the elevator breaks down. Was everybody else's attitude around me? Am I able to hold up everybody up, without even them knowing who I am, just carrying that image everywhere that I go, whether that's in the boardroom or in the kitchen or in a food bank. It doesn't matter where I'm at. I should be able to be consistent with portraying I guess being a reflection of that self-image. That's my biggest takeaway and challenge.
There's this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that I encourage everybody. If somebody kind of decides that, okay, I do want to operate on this level of perception, it behooves us to study things like that, things like emotional intelligence, things like cultural intelligence, because how we're kind of accepted in a certain environment is different from how we're accepted in another environment. So I would say that feedback cycle, like, hey, how am I showing up for you? Is this, if somebody, of course, it is important enough. If a team, okay, when I start leading a new team, I actually go through this exercise. This is what I'm typically like. This is what I like. This is what it means. What do you like? And I ask them, and we go through this process of back and forth. But my first thought is, I want to be approachable, because later what they want might change. Later, how I perceive them or how they're perceiving me might not be aligning with what I think I'm radiating. But when I leave that door open, they're able to give me feedback. So I love, look, your power is intense. Your power is effective. You're a woman that wields power. Another thing is just being okay with the ripple effect of influence. It might not change overnight. What you will get and in an instant implement, somebody else, it might take them 5 years. It does not mean it will never carry. It does not mean that it will never break through. So being okay with, the pace of other people, but unrelenting in really, really pervading our own influence, unrelenting. That thing I was telling you about, that good grammar, I'm unrelenting about it. If I love you, if you're in my space, we're speaking right. We're just speaking right. And when I say we're speaking right, even if we're speaking pidgin, like I remember the other time, my husband said, oh, Ade walk, go there. I said, no, you say Ade waka. Like it don't work in pidgin English. You can't mix English and pidgin English. And so it will not, it is constant. It won't stop. Might it be annoying sometimes? Guess what? The annoyance is also in the process of influence and change. And why is she always sounding like everything must be perfect every day? They're still getting more perfect. I don't know anybody here that's never complained about their mother and then turn right back on their 40th birthday and say, everything I ever was. My mother instilled diligence in me. I remember all those nights, Mom, you'll be praying for me and you'll be waking me up to do my homework. Did we like it in the moment? No. So influence is not just about how we're perceived, it's also about the consistency of the message you are giving. The willingness to look for a season like something that people don't want. You want your team to be a high performance team, you're going to have to call some people out. In that instance, are you radiating love? It might not seem so to that person, but it's still love to you regardless. So I know I've said a lot of things here, but I do trust that influence prevails. And if influence doesn't prevail, maybe that vessel is not ready to absorb that which you're putting out, and it's okay. The only thing you can control is what you radiate, and they absorb what they want to absorb, but they use their filters and they may not absorb it, which is good too. And when I say it's good, it's lawful. It's lawful in keeping with the will of people. Did you want to add to that, or you're good on that?
No, you're right. You're right on. This is exactly what I was thinking, but this is good feedback. You're right on. No, I don't have feedback at this time. Thank you, Brality.
Thank you. All right. Who is on? Who else is next? Elizabeth, are you there? Oh, Kachi, go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone. Validate, very nice to meet you. Kichi.
Kichi, all right, sorry.
Nice to meet you, and very interesting conversations. Honestly, it resonates with me. I maybe did not define it as influence but I think these are things that I unconsciously try to using your word now, cultivate. So yeah, so maybe I didn't know. In fact, I didn't think it wasn't deliberately trying to influence, but yeah, but I see that it's influencing that I'm doing. And why do I say this? Because I lead a team in my place of work. And I've noticed that they're doing things like I kind of try to live out the values, and I see them when they speak, when they try to defend what their work or something, it's the way that I would do it somehow. So yeah, I thought that's it's just now I'm remembering, okay, that's actually influence. But I'll tell you something, last week was the most busiest time I can ever remember, the panic, the anxiety, and all of that. But I just realized that calmness helped me at some point, because I worked on a project and the team, from the other side, didn't know what I was doing, but I was just releasing my figures and everything, just for them to go take and run with. But these people didn't understand what I was doing. And I know I had put in the work with my team and, for us to have that result. And instead of them reaching out to ask, they set up a meeting, high level meeting, literally putting me on the spot. At that time, when I saw the email invites, I panicked. The first thing, and I was like, Lord, my line manager was out of office. She was just out of office. And this was just me. At some point, at least I had like 3 hours or 2.5 hours to the meeting. I left it, I moved on and every other thing. But I noticed later on, I went back to that email and I understood their concerns and things that, literally they could have called me to reach out. Why put me up on the spot in front of everything? What happened was, long and short, few minutes, I digested the email, got everything they needed, and prepared for that meeting. And I just took a deep breath, took a glass of water, and I was ready. And then my calmness came in. But to be honest with you, I was panicking before that time. The anxiety could kill somebody. But I noticed later on they understood, everything, but maybe the approach. So that is calmness. I literally became calm and I was able to explain to them, and everything. It was easy. I got a lot of claps, okay, it's clear, and all of that. Emails afterwards to say, okay, they are aligned and stuff. It completely resonates with me, and I can't wait to see it to the end.
I love it. Because what you just said is actually the next chapter, because what you just said about seeing it to the end, there's the dignity of self-reliance. You didn't start in that moment. Let me tell you what typical wisdom will say. Typical wisdom will be like, can you believe what these people did? You call your friend, you call your this thing, then the friend is like, how can they do that? I don't like this kind of thing. It could put you in a bad light. Oh, be careful of this person, and so on and so forth. And what is it doing? It's just building more anxiety, more adrenaline, more fight energy. But you sat down and you're just like, you know what? Let's take a step back here. And it's that thing in chapter 1 where it say you take that thing and you stop and refuse to fret, and you start to understand this thing piece by piece. And then it says it will all melt away into nothingness. Because when you were sitting down in that meeting and explaining, you were done with the drama and everything, and you just sought to understand and to be understood.
Yeah.
It's a place of power. I love it so much, Kechi. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes. Well, thank you, and happy to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, one more person before we go. Elizabeth, I said I hadn't heard from you. Are you here? If not, Jess is here as well.
All right. Hey, everyone. So I kind of missed some parts of this conversation because I had to step out to take care of my little one. But I did was following up when you were talking about radiating. I guess was it radiating energy and what you absorb as well, right? Yeah. So you're discussing along those lines, and I would say for this year, I've been walking through something like that, going through things like that, but not really, conceptualizing or putting them in words the way you did. I think for me, the way you kind of just labeled that kind of summarizes a lot of things, but also put it in a lot of perspective, to the extent that just thinking about those words or the phrases, I can actually carry it into an environment, and I ask myself, within this environment, in this context, in this space, what am I reflecting? What am I absorbing? And how does that speak to who I am? I think it gets me back to that point where I start thinking about, what is my identity? Who am I? And how do I show up? So, then going back to the idea of calmness, one of the things that I would say, when you were talking about that, the one scripture kept coming back to my mind, the one that says, anger lies in the bosom of fools. And I'm
Come
like,
on.
I never want to show up as a fool anywhere, just because I cannot be calm, because I can't calm myself. And we have all these different things that are at our disposal to help us to walk to that place. God in us, the Holy Spirit, and all of those things. So it is intentional, right? Where you sit yourself down and you absorb these things and you ask yourself, who are you? Are you a fool? Or are you, I know
Jesse's not mincing
but,
words. Like, decide who you are. I know.
Right. Or do you know who you are? Are you the queen, right? The majesty, exuding that majesty of calmness. And so the question is really, how do you want to show up wherever you are? And I think this really helps put a lot of things in perspective, honestly. Earlier this year, I ran into a lot of issues, I work in a fast-paced, but also complex environment, dealing with complex personalities. And then one of the things you realize too is that as you climb up the corporate ladder, you run into a lot of politics with different people, to the extent that you can catch yourself either trying to manage status or manage just a lot of things, competing for resources to do different things. And to that extent, you run into different arguments or unnecessary, conversations that, So anyway, so I found myself in an environment like that, and then we'll get into heated, conversations. Things may not go the way I want. And, you carry that back to your teams and the people you work with and support, and it becomes chaotic. But again, coming to this place now of that calmness, what you're reflecting, and then that's where when I go into those places, I start absorbing those negative things that unconsciously, really unconsciously. And then at some point you sit yourself down and then you realize, just going back to what you're saying, right? I'm telling myself, if I had this knowledge that you are sharing now back then, I'm sure I would have approached situations differently, because I am going into this also noticing that I am absorbing some energy from out there, right? And I have the power to either absorb that or to not absorb it, based off of how I also come off.
Yes.
By knowing that I have that power within me to be calm, So that's really just what I wanted to share, So thank you so much for this.
That is so good. So good, Jess. And Jess, that's my Jess. Okay.
It's been a while.
Long time no see. But
I
yeah,
know.
everything you shared, which is that part where he said, will you keep your plant in an environment that's not healthy for it? Because let's even say you're radiating all these things and it's not being received, and what is being pushed into you to be absorbed is not aligned. Why would you want to be in that environment? And when I say, why would you want to be? Why wouldn't you want to set some boundaries? Because it said, if you cannot move, right, you still take certain steps. So I love that you really expressed, because understanding this doesn't mean that, oh, the world is just going to receive your positive radiations. It just means that you become more aware and intentional about protecting your own light and insisting, this is the light I will give off. If you like, receive. If you like, don't receive. This is my light. This is my influence. This is what I'm going to keep wielding. Will that influence always bring good? Ask Jesus. Because how can somebody be healing people, saving people, loving people, but what now comes is crucify him? Because you can wonder, okay, did Jesus do something wrong? What was then his influence? Did he miss something? No, he didn't miss something. This is where calmness comes in, when you're operating in the place of your power, in the place of your beliefs, your values. Anything that comes, you can handle it, because you know it came as a result of your obedience. And it is just wonderful. All right, one final one before we go.
Brality, I don't have I just wanted to reflect on what the last speaker said.
Yeah.
Anger lies in the bosom of fools. And as she was speaking, I literally saw, just an image of, probably myself or my husband or anyone close to me, just like, when you just stomp out of a room and you start telling everyone, I'm so livid right now, this person did this person did that. And, many times you have a right to feel that way. But I just imagine that person is a fool in that moment. Like, just have a visual of someone, yourself, when you've like stomped out of a room, even when you've been right and you've been just. You were a fool in that moment. And the more she spoke, the more I realized that anything that makes you lose your cool, quote unquote, anything that makes you lose your composure, your steez, makes you take your sight off that self-image, that person God has called us to be, the embodiment of excellence. Anything that makes you lose that is a reflection of something that we should be working on. There's either an underlying pride, ego, anger, something going on there. And rather than us defend it and go, that person hurt me, that person did, that person had no right, all of that stuff is just and right. But anything that makes you lose your atomic composure is something that you want to hold up a mirror to. Even when we hold people in unforgiveness and resentment, it doesn't matter what they've done to us. It doesn't matter. I'm not even talking about the next person.
Yeah.
Anything that makes you lose your atomic composure as the child of a king, and just everything we've been talking about is a reflection of somewhere that God wants you to work on. So that's my final takeaway. But that was
you could literally be preaching my message right now. You could literally be preaching, because when I started this series, that was what I spoke about. Why is calmness important? Because you don't want to be hacked. You don't want to be, when you say something is hacked, it's behaving crazy. It's not working according to design. You don't want anything that will push you out of this coordinated divinity in human form operating on the earth. You don't want that. And this scripture, you just made me go and open it now, and I want to read it fully. It said, do not be quick in spirit to be angry or vexed. I'm using Amplified. For anger and vexation lodge in the bosom of fools. It's not saying don't ever be angry. Even Jesus was angry. But like this, first of all, the offense prone, when you're very prone to being offended, like it's a badge of honor. And then holding on to, that thing when the Bible says, be angry, but sin not, or don't let it go. But being hasty, acting in it, holding on to it, any kind of emotion that is not godly, any kind of emotion that does not produce the righteousness. What is it that they said does not produce the righteousness of God? Was it anger too? If somebody remembers that scripture, find it for me. Something does not produce the righteousness of God. I think it's anger. So when you say, what am I going to put in this recipe to make it work? Anger is not one of them. Anger is usually the demonstration of another underlying emotion. And you see, if something is not working right, and you have the opportunity to move that flower away from that place where there's no light, instead of arguing, why will you be dark? This room, I put my flower here, you refuse to shine light. No, you just move your flower somewhere else. Anger many times is a message to us to take action on something else. It's not necessarily an opening for us to be mad at somebody else. And this is where the Bible keeps saying, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, or our fight is not with flesh and blood. Because what if this person is behaving the way they normally behave? So why are you dealing with that person? Why? You see where boundaries come in. Thank you so much. That visual now is going to stay with us, and we're going to be like, are you saying no? You can be angry, just don't act in it, and just don't be somebody who carries anger. You're known for your tempers. Nah. That's not even real anger. The temper is not the anger. The anger is just something within you that doesn't agree with something and feels very strong and passionately about it. That's it. It's an emotion. When you now start acting in it, that is the manifestation, and you don't want it. And you don't even also want to keep it inside, because if it's inside, it will what? Manifest. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for a great day. You know, another version said, only fools nurse anger. You know, when you're storing anger because you want the anger to now be full, so that when it rains down, yeah. Why are all these things important? Why are all these things important? When somebody like Jesus was born and people from far saw a star that was attracting them, that is how we are. It brings the people who should be in your life, and it keeps them because of how you treat them, because of what you radiate out. Okay? Thank you all so much for spending your Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon with me. And we'll meet back here again. Last time we did it on Friday. This time we might do it on a Thursday. I will let you all know. But the workbook is coming for this particular chapter. If you don't do that work of personalizing it by using the workbook, it'll be hard. If you never registered, go on my page, go on my Instagram page. You'll see the registration link, and do join in with us. I've had an absolutely wonderful time with you today. The WhatsApp group is also open, and you'll find the link there. When you get the email, you'll get all the details. And thank you for hanging out with me today. You are phenomenal as well. I love you. That's what my daughter would do. Heart shape. I love you. And we'll keep pushing. 4 more chapters to go. So excited. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Replays will be sent to you as well. God bless.
Thank